Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Real Pod. I had a different episode planned for today that I was supposed to do or going to record. It was like a topic-based solo episode, and honestly, I just could not bring myself to giddy up and talk about a topic that I think will make for a good episode, but wasn't something I felt pepped up to talk about today. And I didn't want to force myself. And I have just been feeling, I'm already going to cry. I knew I was going to cry this episode. Whew. I have just been feeling so burnt out and exhausted and just not my best self. Obviously, everybody can relate to being in a funk, and it just sucks because you just don't want to be in it. But I felt like the most real thing I could do was, instead of just not recording or forcing myself to record the other episode, I could just come on and be really candid about how I'm feeling. And I think it's not that I don't want to be candid about how I'm feeling. It's that I don't want to create a podcast episode where I'm complaining, or it sounds like I'm complaining for an hour, or I'm just spewing negativity, because I want to bring you guys positivity. But sometimes, everybody, that's just not how I feel. And I'm just exhausted. And I want to kind of talk about why I feel this way and just kind of yap. And God bless Max, because he helped me ideate kind of what to talk about today and encourage me to just kind of come on here and be just transparent. And honestly, it's just been a lot of work stress. This past quarter, this Q4, has been one of the most emotionally taxing for me as an entrepreneur and business owner, and stressful, and also time consuming. And there's a few things that have contributed to that. At a high level, I made a mistake in my business that is costing thousands and thousands of dollars. And so that sucks. And, the long story short is, thought I had some legal ducks in a row, made a mistake, and having to right that mistake, and it's costly, and that just sucks. And it's unexpected, and like I said, takes time and lots of calls and figuring things out, and also the frustrations of feeling like you've hired the right people to help advise you on things or make sure you don't make mistakes and you do everything correctly. And so then when you find out that wasn't the case and you're fixing it, that sucks. I've had to let people go this year from my team, and that's been really tough when you think you've made the right decisions and want things to work out, and then have to go back to square one. That's really tough. I feel like entrepreneurship it's like you've built a car, and every time you feel like the wheels are tight, one of the wheels starts to fall off, and you can't throw the car away and go buy a new one. You just have to keep building and removing parts and bringing parts in, and that's hard. And yeah, it's just been a really difficult quarter for me work-wise, and I think that's just taken a lot out of me. And I do feel that I'm learning a lot, of course, and I'm trying to carry that with me and learn from mistakes, and everything gives me more clarity in the future. And I know I'm going to be a better boss and a better manager and a better hirer and all the things. And I also feel so blessed. I don't want to get that twisted. I am grateful for the work that I get to do and my job, and I would choose it over and over again, and it is not the hardest job. So I'm not complaining about being an influencer, but there are difficult aspects of it. And also, I don't think I'm a traditional influencer in that I don't just create content and post brand deals and go to bed. I also founded a nonprofit, and I'm the chair of the board, and being chair of a board has been a whole new duty for me, and something I want to dominate, obviously, and I want to do really well. And so, you're managing a board, and you're being the liaison between the board and the executive team at the nonprofit, and that's its own thing. But like I said, I'm so grateful to be in that position. I don't think a lot of people at my age get to be, the founder and chair of a board for their nonprofit that they care deeply about. So it's a blessing, and it brings up difficulties. I also have this podcast, which I love so much, and oh, I've been doing Real Pod for 6 years and I just like love it so much, and I would not want to stop doing the podcast. But doing a podcast takes a lot of time and energy as well. Like every single week you need an episode. You just can't take weeks off. Like that's just not how it works. You every week need an episode to come out. It's podcast 101, creating a consistent experience for your listener. They can depend on you. They get used to listening to you, building that relationship. You can't go dark. It's like an inevitable project. Every single week you have a new episode. And I think just in the midst of everything going on, I wanted to feel like I'm putting out good episodes that I'm proud of. And that's also hard because you're thinking ahead and you're booking the interviews and you're thinking of the solos, and then you come up with a good topic idea and then the day comes to record it like today and I don't feel like recording it, and so then I'm like, shit, oh my god, I have like tears streaming down my face. I need to get tissues. One sec. The tissues have been a new addition to the Real Pod studio because I've had a few guests recently who I'm so grateful feel comfortable enough to cry on the show, which I hope everyone is. And I've been like, oh, I need to have tissues in the studio because we should just know that with this podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, I like the tears. I don't know, maybe they're giving me a glow because I, in the spirit of being real, didn't want to put on any makeup, or like I didn't even change my outfit. This is what I've been wearing all day. I'm wearing my pajama dress that I slept in. I skipped my personal training this morning. I have not skipped, and like I ate the money. Like it was expensive to skip. I have not skipped a personal training in the 4 months since I've started it. But this morning I just like saw my alarm go off and I was just like, I can't go today. So I did not go. I'm wearing my PJs and I threw on my crew neck and sweats anyways. So I'm just saying that because I don't know, I just feel like a mess, but I wanted to show the mess because I do think a lot of people look at me and they're like, how do you do it all? You do so much. You seem everything's so together. And like, you know what? A lot of the time it is, but it is exhausting to have everything together. And I think just gotten to a point where like, there's just too many things on the plate. And that's what I've been realizing is I just cannot do it all without me and my mental well-being being the thing that takes the hit. If I'm trying to do everything, it's impossible. And so as I look to the new year, I really want to be clear about my priorities and the things I want to do and really protect that fiercely, because somehow I just always end up back feeling spread thin. And look, things are going to come up. And this, like I said, this quarter with, the team adjustments and fixing things on the financial side and all that, like that's unique, right? Like we get that dialed up now, and like I'm not going to have those issues hopefully in 2026. So like we've moved through it, but it's been exhausting and it's been something that's been going on for months just to get everything, fixed. Anyways, I completely forgot what I was talking about when I started to sob and had to get tissues. But I also think something I've been thinking about is like, if we're working hard to be successful, like whatever that means for us, at what point do you reap the benefits of said success? Or do you like pump the brakes because you like where you are? And I feel like I just like haven't stopped going really since my freshman year of college. So since 2015, I feel like, 4 years as a D1 athlete, went right into entrepreneurship, building my brand and building everything you see today. And I just think I'm being called right now, and I'm feeling this desire for like great change. And like, I don't know what that is yet. And I think that's tough too, is when you can like feel it and that there's like something needs to change, but you don't have the clarity yet. And this reminds me of a recent Real Pod where I think one of you guys called in and said, you had change coming up in your life. And I gave you the advice of making the decision you think is best. And then from there, you're either going to gain clarity that it's not the decision that you wanted or needed, and now you know what you want to do, or it is, And so I think for me, like the most obvious things I want to do is, I think, start positively, right? Like, what are the things I like really want to be focusing on, and like what are my priorities? Because I just can't enter 2026 with my priority list being have the best podcast, create amazing organic content, work with all these brands, keep building the hidden opponent. I have a really exciting project coming out at the top of the new year that like I've been working so hard on for such a long time. And like, I hate that right now. This is stealing the thunder of the excitement of that, you know, like that's frustrating, but there's a project coming out. And then I want to write a book. I really feel excited about that. I've listed 6 things, and all 6 of them are probably worthy enough to be like someone's one and only full-time job and like project that they want to do. So I need to figure out like really which are the ones that like my heart is singing and like feeling excited about when I talk about it, and which are the ones that I need to delegate and find ways to keep building that, but maybe not being as hands-on because I just don't have enough hands, I'm realizing. The other thing too is I think with like content creation and I guess we talked about the podcast timeline, but like, I think as a creator, being creative requires like having space to be creative, having a fresh and curious state of mind where that creativity has an environment to grow in, right? And I feel like I wake up every day and am like handcuffed to my Google Calendar. And that doesn't allow me to feel as creative as I would like. And we've tried to find solutions, like let's put in a block where it's creative time, but like to tell a creative, like these are the 2 hours you need to be creative, that also doesn't work, right? And I feel like we've seen that from even just like celebrities who are like singers who are told the studio says we want an album in the next 6 months. And like, I think all of the best people who've written albums or talked about that stuff are like, that never works, right? And I feel like I've been trying to, you know, designate this creative time, and it's just like it's not working for me, and I can't do that. So then what's the solution? Like I need more space, but then to have more space, I need to clear up the calendar. Well, to clear up the calendar, I have to like make a lot of changes. And so, you know, there's that. And then I think the second part of it is just the world of content creation and podcasting and like media. It feels like it is moving so fast. Like it's a conveyor belt, and it's very scary to hop off the conveyor belt and take a break. And I'll talk about this with my therapist. I'm like, I can't even imagine if I just took a month off, you know? And she's like, why couldn't you take a month off? And I list all these things. And like one of them is the fear of, would this be there when I came back? If I took a month a month, probably, right? It's 4 weeks. Even then it really scares me. I'm going to be honest with you. I have documented my life online every day for so many years now that it would feel so weird to me to have a month go by and not update you guys on like anything that's happened. And I don't even know if I would like that, like, because I do like sharing and I like creating content about my life, right? So that does bring me joy. I'm not sitting here like this doesn't bring me joy, but I do think I need a little bit of a break, or I need to figure out a new cadence. And that's scary to me because I just worry, like, will it all be the same when I come back? It probably won't. It will be different. I think the big fear is like, if I took some time off and made some changes in my life, does everyone lose interest? Does everyone not care about me anymore? Like, and that's scary. It's like you work so hard to build something, to have people every day be excited to see what you put on your Instagram or your TikTok. So then to stop doing that, it's like, am I hurting that relationship that I've worked so hard to build? So it's the irony, right? Of like, you're building it up to this place where now I do have the privilege to take more than a month off, but I don't do it because of the fear of losing the thing that I have. So that's something I'm thinking about. And I was reading Matthew McConaughey's memoir, Green Lights, and he was just so adventurous. Like, he had this huge box office hit movie, and then he started to feel like the fame was getting to him, and he bought an RV, called it the Canoe, and he just started RV tripping. And he said that even when he needed to meet with agents, you know, they would fly into the Montana airport, he'd pick them up, they'd sit passenger seat in his RV while he drove 5 or 7 hours to the next town, and then he would drop them off at the airport in the next state. He just like explored, and he like took this trip to Africa, and then he had this dream about being in the Amazon River, so then he went to the Amazon River. And I was like, I cannot think of a time I've ever not had a plan. Like, I have never not had a plan for the future. And that's not to say that there's been times in my life where I've been like, this is my plan, 5 months, 10 months. I will say a lot of my entrepreneurial career, I have not been like, this is what I'm going to be doing in 5 months, 6 months, 10 months next year. I am present about it, but my calendar always has things 2 to 3 months in advance, like on it. So the thought of just like, I said to Max the other night, I'm like, what if in February we just got in the car with like our suitcase with some stuff and we just like found an Airbnb we liked and we just drove to it and we spent some time there. And then if we wanted to keep staying, we could keep staying. If we wanted to drive to a new place, we can drive to a new place. Like, what if we just explored? I'm like, especially before having kids, I'm like, I never like went and spent a month dicking around abroad. I never lived abroad. Not that I necessarily want to leave the country because it's not that I have a huge abroad itch to scratch. It's more so just like I'm in such a cookie cutter routine and I just want to feel a little bit more free and a little bit more like I can go out and enjoy life. I think obviously there's privilege in being able to do that. And I think, Matthew McConaughey in his book was like, I had $1,200 to my name. He had to negotiate like renting a motorcycle because they didn't have means to pay for transportation. So I also think just for everyone out there, it's like, have we adventured? Like, have we gone out and explored? And I think that that's something left that I haven't really done and I want to do. And thinking about wanting to have kids soon, I don't think that would be as possible. I obviously I'm gonna be able to adventure when I have kids, but it's just going to be different. So that's something I'm thinking about. But then I'm like, if I start making random ass road tripping content, are you all going to be like, girl, we lost a plot? Like, that scares me too, because the decisions I make in my life become the content, which becomes what people consume, which is the business. So I do feel like, and I'm sure some of you are sitting there thinking, Victoria, I would like love to see that content and like I'm not going to go anywhere, and like I love you to death for that. And I know there are some of you like that, and that just makes me feel so grateful and comforted. So thank you. I just had this thought and I wrote it down. I said, what would my life look like if I wasn't thinking about how it was perceived by others? And I don't know. I have to sit with that. But so much of my life is perceived because I'm putting it on display for consumption. And like I said, I love that and that's fun, but it's something I've been thinking about recently is like, okay, so I won't go adventure because then that becomes the content and I don't know if people will like that. So I'm not going to go do the thing I feel like I want to do in my life. That's wild, right? I was thinking about just people in my life who don't have social media and they're not on it and they don't post, and the anonymity that comes along with that. And it sounds appealing, right? But then I also think about the problems I know that they have and the things I know that they struggle with. And I know that being anonymous and having people not know much about you, that's not the answer. And that's not like really what I want. But the fact that down to what I wear is something I think about, because I'm like, can I share a link for this? Is it going to be in their budget? Are they going to like it? Do the girlies want jackets right now? Like, I get dressed and think about what I'm wearing because it will be perceived. So I'm just having a lot of clearly thoughts and feelings and trying to figure out how this is going to look for me as I keep growing and evolving. And I've gone through a lot of phases, so I know it's going to be okay. It's just scary. I think change is scary, and feeling like you're on the cusp of change and not knowing what that change is also scary. So I just am trying to figure it out. Something else too that I wanted to share because it's relevant, and I was yapping about this with Aubrey on the phone 2 days ago, is I went to a Finding Freedom, I think is the name, event by Peter Crone. Not sure if any of you guys are familiar with Peter Crone, but you could look him up on Instagram. And I first heard about him on a podcast my mom sent me, and he's known as the mind architect, I think is the tagline. And I went to this event because I had some friends who followed him, and we all bought tickets and just thought it would be fun. And I'm always down for like self-help and introspective shit. So I was like, let's do it. And he has this thing where he believes everyone is telling themselves a subconscious lie. And that lie has basically put us in this jail cell in our own mind that we don't even realize that we're in. And to give an example, at this seminar, people would stand up and share a problem, and he would explain to them why they really have no problem. And I know that sounds crazy, but even like grief, financial hardship, trauma, even the worst things you could think of, he was able to help show them and explain the way through. For example, I took some notes at this seminar, and one of the things he said is the only problem you have is believing you have a problem. And I've been thinking about that a lot, because when I wake up in the morning right now and I say to myself, I have so much to figure out with work, and I don't know what I want to do, and I need to figure out my priorities, and I start thinking about all that stuff, I'm creating the problem in my head. But if I actually just like wake up and I clear my thoughts, I have opportunity in front of me to be, what it is that feels authentic to me that day. It's all stuff that feels real, but I'm talking about it in my brain. Does that make sense? And so to give you an example, he was saying that we all don't have a past. We have memories in the present, and we only remember what serves the purpose of keeping our present story alive today. So, of course, we have a past in the sense that we have lived other moments, but the past actually doesn't exist. What exists of the past is the memories we have of it, and we remember the memories that serve our story. So if your story is, nobody likes and appreciates me, you're going to remember all the times that things have happened that prove that story. You're not going to remember the times where people did appreciate you and did respect you. Does that make sense? I'm giving a random example at a high level. So some people stood up, and there was one woman, and I'm going to share this because it was all being videoed. So I think that this person consents to know that this could be on the internet. So this girl stands up and she says, I'm a longtime smoker. And he says, well, how long have you been in this room? And she says, 2 hours. And he says, have you smoked since you've been in this room? And she says, no. And he says, so you're not a smoker. And she's like, well, but I am. He's like, well, right now you're not a smoker. And he was trying to get her to realize that she's created this identity. I am a smoker. And it's defining her in so many ways, when really she's a person in this moment who actually isn't doing the act of smoking. And so as he starts to talk to her, we find out both of her parents have passed away. Her older sister has passed away. She's the only person left in her family alive. And long story short, he got her to recognize that she feels immense guilt that her whole family has passed away and she's the one that's alive. And she thinks to herself, like, why me? I can't believe I'm alive. I don't deserve to be the one who's alive. I'm a bad person and I shouldn't be here. And he says to her, and what do you think is the behavior of someone who doesn't think that they deserve to be alive? Smoking. The unlock, this woman just like burst into tears. It was surreal to watch this happening. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's this she didn't even realize this subconscious belief that she doesn't think she really deserves to be the one that's alive. She doesn't understand it. And so then the smoking is this act of self-harm because you're killing yourself. That was the other thing. She was like, I get to have this life, but I'm doing this thing that's taking away time on my life. Anyways, Peter, it was really awesome. And I believe we're working on getting him on the podcast. So I'm really excited to bring that conversation to you and to have him on the show, hopefully at the start of the new year. So stay tuned for that. But it's got me thinking, what is my lie? What is the thing that I'm telling myself, that is the thing I can't see in my brain that's kind of perpetuating this belief, right? And I know from like therapy sessions, and you guys you're like, girl, I know from listening to all these episodes of freaking Real Pod, I know what your problems are. I think mine, if we threw them in a bucket, it's like this deep desire to be liked by everyone, wanting everyone to have a pleasant experience with me, wanting to do things perfectly, wanting to be the best at the things I do, wanting to have a lot of success, wanting to achieve a lot of things, right? And I think with the Gabby Bernstein episode, if you listen to that, it was really good at the very end. She got me... I feel like that was an unlock, is she got me to recognize, I said to her, oh, I don't need everyone to like tell me I did a good job. Like, I don't need that. And she said, but do you need that from yourself? And I was like, whoa, I had never thought about the fact that I never give myself the pat on the back that we've done enough. And I think that there's something there. Like, I think my lie probably has something to do with if I am not, constantly achieving, I'm not worthy of love. Or if I'm not the best, I'm worthless. Like, there's something there. I don't know what it is. I'm excited for Peter to come on Real Pod and tell me what it is in front of all of you. But anyways, I just wanted to share that because it's gotten me thinking about the trap I might have put myself in, which is why it feels so hard to kind of break free from this cycle. I guess the last thing I'll say is, he helped a few other people that night recognize this one person had the belief that she wasn't safe and she didn't realize it, but it stemmed from childhood and her mother. And she's been going through the world thinking she's not safe. And he was like, what would it be like if you told yourself I'm safe? And, you could just see her shoulders drop. And then this other guy, realized he was telling himself, I'm wrong. He grew up in this religious household and was always told, you have to repent and you have to be pure and make your way into heaven. And so you're working your way out of being a wrong person. And it was just really fascinating. So I guess I'll tie that into the whole being called thing. My mom's been on this big spiritual journey recently and just gotten very into meditation and very into all this work. And she lives, eats, and breathes it every single day. And I definitely think that there's a deeper connection that I want to have with the universe. And I know for a lot of people that's faith and that's your belief in God and that's prayer. And I think I'm trying to figure out what that is for me, because we're all connected. We come from nature. I saw this TikTok today. It was, oh my God, it's like the phone. Sometimes it's listening to you and you're like, why is it listening to me? Other times you're like, thank you because you're sending me good shit. And it sent me this TikTok because it's probably been hearing me have this conversation you're listening to with all my friends. And it said, cut yourself some slack. Nothing in nature blooms all year long. And I thought that is so true. This quarter, I'm just in this season right now of the part where my vine is trying to, break out of the tough shell or crack out of the cocoon. Nothing blooms all year. Or even if you are a blossomed flower, the winter's going to come and your leaves are going to fall and you're going to have to go into your protective shell to then bloom again when the sun comes back, So I've just been thinking about that as well. I'm allowed to have lulls. I'm allowed to not know. I'm allowed to feel like things are messy and I'm allowed to be a work in progress. Holy shit. That's a sentence recently I've been telling myself. I am a work in progress. I feel like I've always held myself to the standard of I need to do it right. I need to know. It needs to be perfect. And just accepting I'm an imperfect person. I'm a work in progress. I make mistakes, especially with this whole business thing. I'm human. You're not going to start and create multiple companies and not have issues along the way. That's life. So yeah. Anywhoville and the Blowfish, that is what's new with me. And that's my life. Ta-ta for now. No, I'm kidding. Well, if you've listened to this chaotic life update, I just want to say thank you for caring enough to listen and caring about me as a byproduct. I appreciate it. And I'm also trying to not let this state, right? This is a current state of being, be permanent or feel permanent. And I'm trying to listen to it and breathe through it and not bring it down from, I guess, the air or the sky and grab it into my fists and make it really permanent, because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I can realize that all I needed was to record this podcast. And then I wake up tomorrow and I feel so much better because it hasn't been this little thing I've been feeling. So I think whether it's in a day, a week, a month that I feel better, we'll see. I am taking some really good off time this holiday season, and I have 2 really exciting holiday vacations, which are going to be amazing. So I have been trying to consume less. Actually, the whole week of Thanksgiving, I didn't consume any content. It was wild. I didn't know anything that was going on. I got rid of my apps, so I wasn't consuming. If you saw me post, I was creating a little bit, but trying not to create that much. So that was helpful. And yeah, I have some time off coming this month because I really hope to enter the new year feeling just better and more oomph and pep in my step. And I'm also really excited because this whole thing I'm feeling right now is the reason I created this special project you're going to see and hopefully get your hands on at the top of the year. So that's another thing that I'm like proud of myself with is I know that a lot of us can have these times where we feel this way, and I want to help with that. And I want to help us feel more balanced in our everyday and more on top of everything and be prioritizing self-care and be prioritizing our mental health and being able to track our emotions and just really be in tune with that and have carved out time where we're reflecting on things and we can journal. So I'm excited that I've believe and hopefully have created what I think is going to be a solution to literally this. So stay tuned for that. Sorry, this is like, I know it's so annoying when people are like, stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned, but stay tuned. And we're only a few weeks away now. So top of January, make sure you are locked into my socials. Anyways, I love you guys. Thank you for listening. It means so much to me. And if you feel like shooting me a DM of your thoughts on this episode or how you're feeling, I would love that. I would love to look through and feel less alone and hear from you guys. So thank you. And I will see you next week.